The Bhagavad Gita. Today I'm going to be giving you guys some insights and wisdom that I got out of reading this book that I think is worth sharing with you. If you don't know, the Bhagavad Gita it's like the gospel basically of Hindu beliefs, Eastern religions, and Gandhi was basically devoted his whole purpose and life based around the teachings of this book. So it's got some really great stuff. So basically the setting of this book is taking place on a battlefield. The whole 18 chapters is a conversation between Arjuna, a warrior king, and his charioteer Sri Krishna. Krishna is basically the incarnation of God, like the mortal version of God incarnated onto earth. And it begins by both of them riding into the center of the battlefield, the front line, and seeing that on the enemy side of the battle are comrades, loved ones, and family members. And this shocks Arjuna, and he wants to call off the battle. He doesn't want to slay his comrades in battle. So he starts to recede. And so the whole conversation in this book is basically Krishna convincing him that is not the right thing to do, purely because of his motive of doing so, based on fear. And he opens up by talking about how no one ever really dies, just their body drops dead. The truest version of them is there's nowhere for them to go. So Brahman is also another name for this, like overall supreme being or God, is the truest part of everyone. In essence, everyone is Brahman in their heart, and then everything externally is just their karma unfolding. You know, your personality, your name, everything you do, etc. So if your body drops dead, who you really are is still goes on. You're essentially Brahman. So when it comes to things that are received through the senses, such as heat or cold or pain and pleasure, it makes no difference to someone who is whole, to someone who is at one with their truest self, to someone, as it would say in the book, that is wise. Pain and pleasure, it's just things of the senses. It doesn't really make a difference. They talk about this treating both, not just pain, when you're in suffering moments, not just that as like, oh, this is no big deal, but even in moments of achievement and things like that, kind of renouncing those things as kind of having what they call holy indifference, or divine discrimination, kind of just focusing on the divinity within yourself, and that this is all kind of things of the senses. And you might think like, okay, so why would you want to renounce the good things? Why would you want to let go of that? I actually wrote down a quote that I liked in this book. It goes, when senses touch objects, the pleasures therefrom are like wombs that bear sorrow. They begin, they are ended. They bring no delight to the wise. So basically, as long as you allow yourself to get attached to the good things in life, they are inevitably going to bear sorrow and suffering. That's just how this game kind of works, this game of life. As long as you get attached to things. Like it's not that you don't experience them, you just allow them to come, but you don't attach yourself to the achievement, the good things, the pleasures, or the pain that comes and the suffering therefore. So a main theme of this book is don't be lazy. God doesn't like laziness. So it talks about action, but not action born for the fruits of the action. It talks about action born of devotion. So basically, instead of doing things while looking at the fruits that they bear, like, for instance, going to the gym so you can be really jacked. Instead of doing that, you go to the gym out of devotion to God, out of going to the gym purely because you're able to, and you in that way you're honoring the gifts that you've been given. You're honoring your body by taking care of it. You're honoring the food that you're consuming by putting it to good use. You're honoring Brahman. Sorry, I have my text tone on. So, renouncing the fruits of your labor and doing the work just for the work itself. That includes actual schoolwork, business work, or your 9 to 5, whatever it is. Just doing it for the work itself, doing it to fulfill your purpose. And if you're doing work that doesn't align with your purpose, you're going to cause yourself more suffering because your inner truest self is giving resistance against what you're doing. And therefore, there's always going to be friction. It's always going to feel like you're fighting against the grain. Whereas if you are doing something that's aligned with your purpose, and if you don't know your purpose, even doing something that you think might help you towards that, that way your inner being is aligned with your ego, with your outer being, and your personality. And that way they can work together and results will come tenfold times as quickly. And yeah, so if you're not lazy and you're creating action and taking action, but for the action itself as a sacrament to God, for the gifts that you've been given, your benefits and your fruits will come much quicker. But the point is not to attach yourself to the fruits. It's not about the fruits. It's about devoting yourself to your purpose, devoting yourself to your truest essence, which is God or Brahman. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is the 3 gunas. The 3 gunas are basically what keep you trapped in this reality. If you go back to Plato's allegory of the cave, where, they're in the cave and they only feel like the shadows on the wall is the extent of reality. And then one person goes out and sees the actual 3-dimensional objects of the deer and the tree and be like, oh, those shadows on the wall of the deer and the tree aren't actually the deer and the tree, those are just the shadows. And then everyone thinks he's crazy. Well, so this is like going outside of that cave. In order to exit that cave, you must see past the 3 gunas. The 3 gunas are tamas, rajas, and sattva. And so it basically goes in order that people that are mostly dominated by tamas are ignorant people, are people that are lazy, are people that don't really do much of anything that is really meant for them, that people that are easily brainwashed and easily allow themselves to kind of be a product of their environment rather than have their environment be a product of them. So that's tamas. The way to escape tamas is to move towards actions of rajas. And that is, rajas heavily dominates those people that are working for the fruits of their labor, working, their goals and, the things they want to achieve are money and things of the physical world and really of the material world rather. And they work very hard and they're very passionate and they're very driven, but they're doing the work for that goal, for the fruits of their labor. And that's usually a material thing. And then finally is sattva, and the way to get out of rajas is through sattva. And that is basically the people that are dominated by that are usually people that are after happiness, that seek true happiness, that seek true bliss, that do sacraments to God, but they do it for the purpose of achieving bliss, of achieving happiness, and rather than just doing it for the sake of doing it for the sake of sacrament to God. So beyond all 3 gunas is Brahman, is all of existence, is your deepest, truest self. So it's very stressed out in this book that it's about evolution, and it's every man's evolution to kind of go through those 3 gunas in some sense. Some get to skip, or not skip, but some go through some quicker than others. Some don't make it all the way, obviously. Some stay stuck in tamas. but that's just in their incarnation, right? Because no one ever actually dies. So it's all about evolution. It's all about finding your purpose and sticking to your purpose and just doing the best you can, the best of your knowledge, to do the things that align with your purpose, purely because you were given these gifts, these wonderful gifts that you as an individual have been given. These were given to you for a reason, for you to be able to fulfill whatever purpose it is that you are destined to fulfill. And if you just sit there and don't cause action, and you don't try to align with your purpose, and you don't honor the gifts you've been given, like you eat food that Mother Earth brings you, that Brahman has somehow provided to you, and you don't work out, you're lazy, and you don't help people, or whatever it may be, you're dishonoring, you're disrespecting the gifts that you've been given. We've all been given individual, unique gifts. And the way to honor those is to do the best you can to take care of yourself and evolve through the 3 gunas, and to eventually finding the divinity and becoming the divinity within you. And so I guess it's stressed that throughout, the fastest way to do that is to practice using everything in your life as a vehicle to reach God, using all the stressors to recede from and allow them to be, and come back to your truest self, not being affected, that holy indifference, allowing your work to be a sacrament to God, a vehicle to reach God. Allow yourself to do hours and hours of work purely because that is what is honoring the gifts that you have been given, and taking you closer to your purpose. Allow yourself to help others purely just because that's God helping God, that's you helping God. You're doing not because you expect good karma in return, but purely just because you want to help people. Renouncing the fruits, doing the action for the pure reason of the action of the sacrament to God, of doing it to honor your gifts. That is stressed as the main strategy, the main way to evolve yourself, including getting the fruits that you want on a material physical plane, but no longer using that as the reason why you're doing it. So yeah, I think that's most of the core things that I've gotten out of this. I've only read the book once, and a lot of Eastern philosophers highly suggest that you read this many, many times. You keep coming back to it throughout your spiritual journey. So this is my first time reading it. I'm sure I will read it again in the future. I'll probably buy my own copy. This one I actually got from a library. I'm the only one that's rented it out before, and it was from my school library, and I think they're going to throw it out when I get back because it's falling apart. I was like, can't I just keep it then? And they were like, no. So whatever. I might be the only one that's ever rented out this book and ever will at this library. But yes, I will definitely come back to this book because it has a ton of wisdom. And Ram Dass speaks about all different ways to read the book. Alan Watts speaks a lot about the book. A lot of their beliefs come from cores of this book. And like I said, Gandhi refers back to this book every time he's confused in life. So it's definitely a word of the wise. So I hope you guys enjoyed my insights and wisdom that I received out of it, and I hope that it can do something for you. And if you're interested, I highly suggest you do read this book. And yeah, do with it what you will. Bye.